Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian, Pace reporting live here in the East Village here in New York City. As you've been seeing here on the Pace Report recently, I've been documenting and interviewing people in the jazz industry in this pandemic. And what's been really happening very special here in the East Village is a club called Rue-B. Now, Rue-B has done something that most jazz clubs can't do, is that they're booking live jazz acts every single night here for the last 3 months. But with the new rules and the new laws, the owner, Michael Camacho, has done some very unique things, including providing tables as well as a tarp outside to prevent people from the rain and the elements. As well as the fall arrives, there will be new rules and stipulations by the city and the state that he's going to have to adhere to. Tonight, I had a chance to sit down with Mike to talk about these new rules, talk about the vision of moving forward in this pandemic, as well as you guys are going to see some highlights of some of the musicians and the acts that perform here at Rue-B. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of my interview with Michael Camacho, the owner and the operator of Rue-B, here on the Pace Report, here in the East Village, here in New York City. You know, Mike, this has been a very interesting 4 months for you. Rue-B here in the East Village has brought a lot of happiness. It's brought live music here every single night in COVID.
Yes.
And we're not even in post-COVID yet. And I want to know how you've been able to establish the model of success that's been going on.
Well, I've been fortunate, and it's a humbling fortune because it's not easy to do this at all. But I've had great musicians here playing, and the community is very supportive of it. And I'm not charging a cover, which makes it really easy for people at this current time economically. And people have been really, really desperate for some joy, and some peace and some semblance of celebration, which is really hard to come by with all that's going on right now, vis-a-vis the COVID, vis-a-vis, unfortunately, with the divide, the racial divide, which is troubling and painful, to be a witness to that. So the music has helped us, cope, basically, and has been a major factor to us having success right now at this moment. And it's a bittersweet success, really, Brian, because you know, I remember a quote that I read, an interview that I read in Rolling Stone magazine. It was like 1984. It was an interview with Bruce Springsteen, the boss, and the person was asking him what it's like to have the success that he has, and he says, I can afford to buy an island of my own and live there. I can basically buy whatever I want, but I still don't feel free. And the interviewer, I can't think of who it was that interviewed him, but said, well, what do you mean by that? He says, well, if I can do it and not everybody else can do it, that's not freedom. How can I feel a sense of freedom? Now, I'm not having that kind of success here. That's not the point. But analogous to that, yes, we're many places have closed, and I was on the verge of closing, but I hung in there. I hung in, and probably 5 minutes before the miracle happened, and as a result of my hanging in, we're having a blessed time. But again, not to be redundant, it's not easy to kind of go, okay, so we're having success right now, but what does that mean in the long run? It's nice now that we have this new good fortune of being able to stay open with the outdoor setting, which is huge for New York City, and it needs it, and I think the country needs it. I think that I'm hoping that if things normalize, it will boost the economy like you wouldn't believe, not just for New York, but for the rest of the country, because if everybody can do it, everybody will share in the glory, if you will, so it's a long answer, but,
Now, Mike, Mayor de Blasio last week, and by the time people watch this, September 30th is the new timeline for the opening, meaning that they just passed that you can have propane out here for the winter.
Right.
It's permanent now. People can do the outdoor restaurant, right, bars. How are you preparing for this now here at Rue-B? Because now that you have this enclosure, there's going to be some other things that you're going to be adding here also.
Right. Well, my staff and myself are preparing to get heaters. We're going to enclose the tents. We have one in the back that we're hopefully going to open soon. And, we're going to heat it up well so that people can be cozy and comfy. We are going to do everything that is COVID, correct, if you will, for lack of a better way of putting it. That we, will keep it ventilated as well. We're just going to, the verdict is still out on it. I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like, because when it gets really cold, as desperate as people are going to want to get out, I don't know necessarily that it's going to be as successful as now, obviously, for the reasons being the weather, for one, at the top of the list. So I'm anxious, they're going to allow 25%, but quite frankly, we're going to have the thermometers and checking people's temperatures and what have you and keeping a record. But I really don't want to have anybody inside my bar, because the capacity, my bar is small, so I'm going to have maybe 8 people in the bar with 25%, and I have to worry about separating them, and it makes no sense. So, and quite frankly, I kind of like the business being,
I do too,
outside, and they need to use the bathroom, they put the mask on, they go in. The musicians play inside with the windows open. When the winter comes, the windows are not going to be open and the doors are not going to be open for the public to listen. So it's going to be a definite challenge as to how we're going to make it work. I'm thinking about, getting some speakers and putting them in the tents so that if the people can't really get the full experience of the live music, they'll at least get a whiff of it through the speaker system, perhaps. I don't know. But anyway, it's definitely. I'm not looking forward to the winter. I'm not a winter guy as it is, and you know me. LA's my other home, so I'd prefer to be there for the winter. I was there last year for the winter, and it was beautiful, So it's good for my dogs too. Anyway, but that's how I'm going to deal. And we'll see when we cross that bridge what it's going to be like. I am worried about the cold, and the COVID combined. Because people are going to get sick no matter what, even if they don't get the COVID. People get sick during the winter. And I'm doing everything that I have to do, vitamins, antioxidants, you name it, I'm doing it. So, but with exception to my cigar, which is my only, vice, if you will. So, I'm looking out.
Tell me why Rue-B is very important in this time of COVID right now.
Well, it's the only place for us to really get a chance to play music every week and to come together as a community. Mike has done that basically ever since they've opened, or ever since he took over the establishment. I'm lucky to be playing here, but this place has given us a chance to come out of quarantine and really get back on our craft. And it's rare nowadays to be able to do that. So that answers your question.
What makes this place so special?
The people, Mike. I've had a lot of memories here, and I don't know, I think it's just these walls. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of musicians have come through this door, a lot of bands that I've played with. Everything about this place is very special. You can't really describe it, but just this entire ambiance, the room, I think Mike makes it a lot too. So
You have some very interesting music acts that play every night. You have Latin night, you have R&B a cappella. There's a hybrid of R&B and jazz that you've infused, which is making this a hot spot. How do you keep that moving? And you're also adding new stuff also. You're adding new acts.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because I get a lot of people to come down and people who are interested in playing here. I get solicited a lot, not just directly from the musicians, but people like managers and agents call me, and this is a time where it's hard to get work. And, I'm not paying as much as I can't afford to pay what I was paying before. So it's a collective, agreement with everybody. But with that being said, first of all, I have good taste as far as I'm concerned. And I demand quality. And I demand, a rich, soulful experience when it comes to music. And it's part and parcel of the fact that I'm an old school guy. I've been around a long time, and I grew up with great music with every genre that exists. So I've had opera here, for example, which was going well for a while. I'm looking to do that again. Start an opera jam session, and these singers would come out and be just like, oh, I love the opera. So even though we're known for jazz, I want good music. Pardon me. I want great. Like I have my funk band that plays here, and I funk old classics from you name it, from the real funk to the Beatles, and I funk it all up with this band. We have a great time. And then I do my jazz thing. I sit in usually with the jazz musicians. Sometimes I'll do my own night. But I'm a real stickler for people who are doing what they do because one, God gave them the talent, and two, that they have a good, sweet spirit about it all. Because I do what I do as an artist. That's my true background. I own a bar, but my real background is in the arts, right? I've been a successful musician, I was a pop star in the 80s with the band that I was in. I don't know if you recall, but I had the whole Funkadelic band in my band. So Bernie Worrell, God rest his soul, was in my band. And then I have a jazz background, and then I have an acting background. So on a professional level, so I aspire always and always chase good music. But really, it happens by osmosis because I'm always, on a metaphysical note, I'm always stalking great talent. I love great talent. I'm always, and I say that in a creative, artistic sense, that I'm always watching and listening for someone who's special. Like not just with the way they play, but how they comport themselves, how charismatic they are. Do they have? Are they? Do they have character? Are they humble? Are they there? Are they here to serve themselves, or are they here to serve the music? I look for those who serve the music, and serve the musicians they're playing with, and the customers, and they're not just playing for themselves; they're playing for the people that are here, and that's. People might hear this and say, well, isn't that what musicians do? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because I've played with a lot of musicians throughout my life, and there are some musicians and artists that are doing it for themselves across the board, whether it's dance, singing, music, acting, and I look for that ilk of spirit that understands that, I do this, I've always done it for fun and for free, even though I've had success with it and I've made money at it. That's what art is.
There's a saying, if you do what you love, it's not like not working at all.
That's right. That's right. You gotta love what you do, and you gotta love what you do for the love itself only. Because if you're, and it's a mindset, it's an attitude. I would do gigs where I didn't get paid, and I made sure my musicians got paid. And I treated it the same way I would treat the gig if I was making money on the gig. The love is there no matter what. I'm giving it. I'm not taking it. I'm giving it. So I look for that in these musicians that come here, especially the young ones. They got a lot of fire in them and in the belly. And
I see what you did with JC. You know, he's
Yeah.
now starting his career as a jazzy drummer, and you've given him an opportunity to shine.
Yeah, JC, I just got the goosebumps when you said that. It's like JC, he was like one of the guys who was trying to get a gig, you know, and trying to get the respect, and they weren't taking him seriously, you know. And what I saw in him was like a Buddy Rich, you know, like I saw this energy of like a Gene Krupa, you know. Now, you know, he's got that energy and enthusiasm and passion. He just doesn't sit back, and he's not Mr. Cool behind the drums. He lets it all hang out, you know. It's a viscera that I really appreciate when a musician comes from that place. And that's the other thing. I'm always looking for where they're coming from. That's what I look at, you know, as people, as musicians, as artists. So yeah, JC's one of my, you know, feathers in my cap, you know, if you will, because he's flourishing and blossoming, and this kid is just...
He's on fire.
He's on fire, and I'm really proud, you know, to be his one of his mentors, you know, and you know, I get a lot of joy out of that, you know. I get a lot of joy out of helping the young musicians. I'm in the middle of helping a young fella out right now who just arrived on the scene, and he's like 20, and he's an Ecuadorian kid, and he wanted to sing Sinatra. And after, you know, while he has a beautiful voice, I said, "Can you sing anything in Spanish?" And he did. And he plays piano too, and he's pretty good. And when he sang in Spanish, lifted me up. You know, like I got the goosebumps, and I said, "That's your bread and butter." You know, so you got to work on that. So now I have him working on focusing in on that thing that he needs to do to thrive. You know, so I get a lot of joy out of that. And I get a lot of joy out of that because a lot of these young guys are dreaming. And they're dreaming at a time in history where dreams might not get to be experienced because of what's going on in the world. At the risk of being pessimistic, I'm not, but there are realities, you know, and we're at a very precarious time in history, and my heart aches and hurts for the young. How are they? Because I had the chance and I did it, you know, and
yeah, with the fact that there are no venues open in New York and performing around the world right now.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of musicians, you know, it's weird. I read Melissa Etheridge is making $50,000 a week from streaming, and she does live shows from her house every night. And it seems like that's the new business model now with this whole COVID era.
Right, which I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm trying to figure out the coordinates to do that here. Plus, as you know, the endeavor that you and I are embarking upon with starting Rue-B Records, you know, an artist community and artist friendly label. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to it not being a conventional and or traditional record label kind of setting, you know, or model. So
well, that model's gone now.
Model's gone. Yeah. So, you know, it's going to be good for Rue-B. We have a lot of gifted, you know, talented young people, and you know, some older cats too. But you know, I want to be able to promote that.
You can dance, every dance for the guy who gave you the eye. Let him hold you tight. You can dance, you can smile, every smile. You can dance, held your hand beneath the pale moonlight. And don't forget who's taking you home. And in his arms you're gonna be, my darling. Take the last dance for me. I know that's the music. Yes, I know. Like the sparkling wine going fast. Yes, I know. Baby, don't you know I love you so? Can't you feel it when we touch? I'll never ever let you. I love you all so much. So go on and dance. You can dance. You can dance till the night is gone and it's time to go. Oh, you can dance. But if he asks you, can dance. Are you alone? Can he take you home and you must have him know? And don't forget who's taking you home. And in those arms you're gonna be my mistake. The last dance for me. Baby, don't you know I love you so. Can't you feel it when we touch? I'll never ever let you go.
Scott, what makes the relationship between you and Rue-B, and also everybody that comes out every Saturday night to hear you guys, what has been the formula here for 3 years?
We love music. It's just that simple. We love music. We as a group love performing music. The venue loves having music. This is what they're about. That's why you see that saxophone is up there with the notes. It's about music, and that's why people come to listen. It's just, we love music. And as much as people love listening to what we do, we love doing what we do. As I say this to people every so often, it's not a joy, it's a job. It's not a job, it's a joy. I did that backwards.
Why is Rue-B so special in the East Village?
There are a lot of clubs that do music. But the thing that sets Rue-B aside before the pandemic and even afterwards is that even though it's tiny, they really, as the owner is a musician, love putting out music that's not watered down, that you have to have talent to be able to do. You have to be able to have talent to be able to play. There's nothing between you and the audience, and they can see whether you can do it or not. That's what I really love about Rue-B. It makes me happy.
Thank you so much.
It's Gloria. It's Gloria, but she's not in love with me. In love with me. And maybe she loves me. But who am I to know? Maybe she loves me.
Tell everybody the hours. You are doing this Monday through Sunday. You have a brunch also. You also have delicious drink specials like the one you're drinking right
This
there.
is a frozen drink that we have, but it's punch. It's a punch drink, minus the alcohol, because I don't drink. So, yes, I'm a sober bar owner. For those of you who might know or not know.
And
But
the sliders are good too.
the sliders are ridiculous. If I may say so myself, we have a new menu. We used to have food up until a few years ago, and the cooks started getting the quality was not right, and it started to go spiral downward, and I just dropped the food. And because of COVID, I had to have, reinstate the menu again. So
That's the law now. You have to serve alcohol and food now.
it's the law. So we created a new menu, and it's really good and it's healthy. Vegetarians or vegans or whatever, we got good food. But it's quality. It's we're a bar with food. We're not a restaurant. So. And I'm very pleased and proud of the menu we have, and it's working. So the brunch menu is excellent. We just started, so it's slow getting started. We used to have a really popular brunch on Saturdays and Sundays up until a few years ago. But again, the quality of food kind of went down, so I dropped it. So we'll see. The verdict is still out on us with the brunch. We're still neophytes, and trying to figure it out. Figure out the formula in terms of this menu is concerned.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at Rue-B here in the East Village here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank the staff as well as Michael Camacho for their warm hospitality here at Rue-B. People, if you're in New York City, please come out and support Rue-B. Their website is rueby.nyc.com, and they're also on Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter. Also, people, please like, share, and subscribe to my videos here at The Pace Report on YouTube and Vimeo, as well as visit my website, thepacereport.com, for my weekly column, as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.